So this is chapter 9 quiz, differentiation. So the first one, we want to differentiate with respect to x. So if I just think of it as 1 on 10, and we've got 3 minus 5x to the power of 6, and my pen is a little bit fat, there we go. So if I'm doing dy dx, that 6 needs to come in front. It's now to the power of 5, so don't forget to do that. And then we also need to go inside, that's the chain rule, and the derivative of this inner part is minus 5. So if I think of it as minus 5 on 10, that is negative a half of 6 is negative 3. So I've got this left, which is not A, whoops, which is B. Alrighty, so next one, what is the derivative? So again, as soon as I want the derivative, I'll probably write it in terms of index form. So it's the power of negative a half. So when I do y dash, it's much easier. I have negative half x to the, remember I'm subtracting 1. So now it's going to be subtracting 1.5 or minus 3 on 2. And if I rearrange that into original format, we've got negative a half, and we've also got the x to the power of negative. So I know there's x on the bottom. Remember, it's 1.5 x's. So it's 1.5 powers of x, I should say. So usually I'd just leave that as square root cubed, but because I can see the answers are not looking like that, I can also rearrange that just to be to the power of 1, so that's x to the 1, and to the power of a half, so that's x square root of x. And if we have a look at that, negative 1 to x square root of x is b. Alright, oh, interesting, whoops. So that one was b. Let's go to, I don't know what I'm doing here, I'm making it all go weird. Alright, number 3. So, which of the following has a derivative? So, the derivative we're looking at is 3x 5 minus 8. Now, if you think about it, having... Excuse me. Oh, no. So, it must have started with x to the power of 6, something x to the power of 6, in order to come to x to the power of 5. And also it must have had kind of some 8x in it to come down to, or minus, to come down to an 8. I don't really care what's in front. If I look at the answers, I can see there's only 2 that have x to the power of 6, and then there's only one of those that has 2 terms, and it has a minus 8x in it. Or you could just differentiate all the answers and see if you can get the question. Alright, and number 4. F dash of x first. If we have a look, it's the chain rule because there's 2 parts with x's in them. So u dash v plus v dash u. So differentiating the first, I get 10x, and then the second one I just write down, plus differentiate the second, so 4 comes outside of x minus 5 to the power of 3, and then go inside. Sorry, and this is not the chain rule, sorry, and then that's v dash, and then u is 5x squared, excuse me, my nose. Alright, now I could then simplify that. I don't really need to because I'm finding it when x equals 4, so I can just sub in 4. So that'll be a 40 out the front. This will be negative 1 to the 4. And then I've got 4 lots of, if I sub it in here, I've got 4 fours are 16 times 5 times 4 is 20, 16 twos are 32 with a 0, so 320. And a negative 1 cubed. So it makes it easy to do if you've forgotten your calculator, which is my issue. Alright, so we get negative 280. That's nice and easy, so we get C there. Alrighty, so let's try and find question. Here we go, question 5. So question 5 is a quotient rule, so u dash v minus v dash u on v squared. So I'm differentiating the top, which is just 1, times the bottom, 1 minus x, minus differentiate the bottom, which is minus 1, so that's going to go back to a plus, times the top, and divided by the bottom all squared. So again, I don't need to simplify, but I might as well. So I've got 1 plus 1 is 2. Take away x plus x cancels. So it makes it a little bit easier. I'm actually finding y dash when x equals 2. So y dash when x equals 2, just subbing 2 in, you can see we get 3 squared on the bottom. So 2 on, no, it's not. What am I subbing in? I know what I did wrong. That should be a negative because I've got 1 minus x. Hopefully you saw that before I did. So go 1 minus x. So it's actually 1 minus 2, which is negative 1 all squared, which is just 1. Negative 1 all squared is 1. So 2 on 1 is 2. That makes more sense because that answer is there. All right, question 6. Just need some room there. Alright, so f dash of x in this case, so that 3 is going to come down the front, so now we've got a 9, 7 minus 3x cubed power of 2 now, and we're multiplying it, so we go inside and we get a negative 9x squared when we differentiate the inside, so that one's the chain rule. So I've got negative 9 times 9, which is negative 81, and you know, if I'm actually subbing, I'll sub in straight away, negative 1. So when I sub negative 1 all squared, that's just 1. So 1 lots of negative 9, negative 9. Negative 9 times the front 9 is negative 81. And then inside, you can say I've got 7 minus, remember, a negative 1 cubed is a negative. So I've got actually 7 plus 3 there. So that's just a 10 squared again. Don't need a calculator for this one. So minus 181 times 100 is minus 8100. So A. All right, for 7, we're looking at the limit. So first of all, I've just have a look at that top and expand it. Because remember, I want to be able to factorize the top by h to get rid of that h on the bottom. So I've got x squared, I've got 2xh, and I've got 8h squared. I've got a minus 5x, a minus 5h, I'll have to write the 5x first, and a minus 3x squared. So that's just looking at the top. So you can see positive x squared minus x squared cancel. And you can see I'm going to get a 3x squared and a minus x squared, so they cancel as well. So the only things left will be this 6xh and a 3h squared and that minus 5h there. Yeah, so that is divisible, so I can factorize by h, which is what I want to do. So then the h on the bottom can cancel, and really the question is find the limit as h goes to 0 of 6x plus 3h minus 5. Now if I put h equals 0 into that will become 0. So I'm just left with 6x minus 5, which is C. Excuse me. All right. So let's move on to number 8. So this one's, I think, f double dash of 4. I'm going to go with that. Let's see. So let's start with f of x again in index form to the power of a half. So f dash of x, the half comes down. X is now to the power of negative half. And double dash of x, negative a half comes down, and subtract 1 from a half, we've got minus 1 and a half, or minus 3 on 2. And we want double dash of 4. So I've got negative a quarter. Now remember, so this is x to the power of negative, so I know it's 1 over x to the power of 1.5. Now that's the same as the bottom part will be square rooting the x, and the top part is power of 3. So if I square root 4, because remember I'm subbing 4 in, so square root of 4 is 2, and 2 cubed is 8. So you can see I'll get negative 1 on 32, which is there, thank goodness. Alrighty, and moving right along to 9. Alright, so which statement is true? So think about this one, it's an absolute value, so if I do it really, really badly. So y equals x, and then it's x minus 2 in brackets, so it's actually moved across 2. You could think of it that way, or y equals x minus 2. You could kind of draw it and then reflect the negative up. if you were interested in doing that, whichever way you like. And it's talking about this where x equals 2, and you can see it is continuous, it continues on there, but it's not differentiable. So it's continuous, so it's not differentiable, but here we go, see. It's not differentiable there, so I can't find the tangent at that point, but it is continuous. Whereas when I look at 10, let's have a look at 10, you can see, first of all, if you just looked at the bottom, you'd say, oh, x cannot be 2, right? X cannot be 2. And that is true. So often we draw an asymptote there. The only thing to check is if x cannot be 2 on the top as well, which sorry, when you sub in and it's a 0 there, that's when you have a hole, as it were. So if I were to put a negative outside the top, factorize by a negative, it can be the top or the bottom, you'll see we actually get exactly the same bracket. So it's y equals -1. So why didn't they just give us y equals -1, which is down here? Why didn't they give us that line? Y equals -1, like that, because they're kind of like telling us also that x cannot equal 2. So when I go across to 2, let's say this is 2, there's actually a hole in this line. So it's not an asymptote, it's a hole, and that happens when it gives you a 0 at the top as well as not being able to be equal to at the bottom. So both those things, excuse me. All right, so what have we got? So of course we can't differentiate anything at that point, nor is it continuous because there's a hole. So it's not differentiable. It's neither continuous nor differentiable. So it must be D. Okay, hope that helped.